You're listening to the Nerd to Know Media Network. Join us at nerdtoknowmedia.com.
Broadcasting from the Blanchardstown Centre, this is Phoenix FM.
This is 92.5 Phoenix FM, community radio for Dublin 15.
Hey everybody, it's JB Jeremy Borash, and you are listening to Darrow O'Connor on the...
All right, everybody, welcome to the show. It is the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, the True Penny Channel, Spotify, Nerd to Know Media, and all other places, including YouTube. We will be back next week live. Technically, all the tech issues have been resolved. This is like a meme now at this point, but it is show 70, and I am joined by my two co-hosts. Introduce yourself there, sirs.
It is a meme at this point. I'm well, Dave Stevens, obviously, but just follow me at the Dave Stevens on Twitter and Instagram. Hashtag Save Dave. Let's keep it alive. And it's a great day for wrestling, everybody.
And I'm Martin Herty, and don't follow me on anything.
I like that.
That was my approach for a while.
Yeah. But lads, again, congratulations on show 70. This is pretty cool. It's great to kind of have that kind of consistency. And also as well, we're going to get back to the WCW stuff when the news isn't wild. And this week I was like, oh, it's not going to be so bad. And then, oh my God, the world collapsed. The internet was broken by news after news after news after news. I threw up a video up on the channel talking about one of it. We'll probably start that later on. But we have to go for the confirmed news, because there's lots of speculation. The confirmed news now is all AEW. Martin, this is your show, dude. Like, this is this is all you, because we were going to cover the big pay-per-view and the Jericho stuff, but holy cow, Daniel Bryan and CM Punk are locked in for AEW. Like, first of all, did you think this was going to happen, and what are your thoughts on it?
Not a chance. To be honest, I thought CM Punk was done with wrestling altogether. Any of his sort of public comments on it over the past couple of years, he's just seemed to be totally disenchanted with the business altogether. So I didn't see him ever coming back. I think it was also the fact that he'd almost built up an even more legendary status in the time he'd been gone than in the time he was in the ring. So I didn't see how any sort of return could ever live up to that. But look, live crowds been back after nearly 2 years in Chicago. AEW really taking it to WWE in the ratings, and then CM Punk shows up. Like, that's, if you're ever going to return, that's the time, and that's the way to do it.
Like a lot of what you said there is like pretty much what I thought too. I thought, Punk has been very confrontational with fans, and he's been trolling them for years as well, just on taking the piss out and pretty much consistently. Do you think this is just like, okay, Daniel Bryan is weird, because I didn't think Daniel Bryan would leave, and there was the whole thing where Daniel Bryan wanted his contract to allow him to go to New Japan and wrestle there and move around, and WWE were like, okay, but then obviously it fell through. So look, Daniel Bryan was kind of on the way out anyway. With Punk, it's weird because it's like, I don't know, did he run out of money? That's probably what happened. He probably ran out of money. It's weird, like, it's a strange one.
I don't know if I'm not cynical about this one. I think that you have to consider that after he left WWE, he did try the UFC thing. Yeah. And he didn't exactly get the same adrenaline rush from a loss there. So, or technically a loss and a draw after the drug test came out. But still, the point is that there's definitely something just as a human being inside of him that he probably needs to itch again. That roar of the crowd, that hometown feel in Chicago. Yeah, the money's obviously, that's why you take any job, right? But to be able to do it in a scenario where you're just going to be loved and you don't have the kind of schedule you did before, and you're still going to make a ton of merch money, most likely. I mean, that's the biggest draw, right? You're not wrestling 200 plus nights a year, 300 plus nights a year.
But on that point, right, there is a new show being released by AEW. What's it? It's
Rampage.
That's it. Yeah. So, right now the schedule is lighter, but if there's two shows happening, how do you think that's going to affect the roster? Like, do you know, Martin, if the plan is to split up the roster or to have them showing up on both, or what's the story there?
There's definitely no mention of any kind of a roster or brand split or anything like that. Rampage, from what I can tell, is going to be an hour-long show, and it's going to be sometimes live, sometimes pre-recorded. Tony Khan has insisted that it's not going to be a B show. It's going to be on par with Dynamite in terms of storylines and that. But I mean, the time slot it's in doesn't lend itself to the numbers they've been getting recently on Wednesday nights. So I imagine they'll kick off with a bang, obviously with Punk showing up, and I can see a couple of big matches or a couple of big early weeks. But I would imagine over time they will go, look, we've got a huge angle coming up. Do we show it to the 500,000, 600,000, 700,000 people who are going to be tuning in on Friday at 10 o'clock, or do we cater for the 1 point whatever million?
When is Rampage going to be on?
Next Friday.
So it's Friday night show.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Night, 10 o'clock.
That's crazy because it's going head to head with SmackDown.
It starts when SmackDown's over.
Okay, well that's probably clever. Well, to be fair, like, I don't know how well SmackDown will actually do against AEW, because even though SmackDown's the better show, it's, it could actually get beaten. But I suppose that's not a battle that they want. But
no, they're trying to fight over the demo, according to Jericho.
Exactly.
But I have to say, it is interesting that AEW landed India recently as well for both shows, Dynamite and Rampage. This makes them more marketable in those sorts of countries, and they can have like multiple TV shows.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. It's next big move for AEW really is to expand out. Like,
and regarding they're not really going head to head with SmackDown, not even just in terms of the time slot, just the way the television systems work in the US. I know maybe Dave can give us a few more details, but Fox is kind of just available everywhere, whereas TNT and TBS are a wee bit more restricted, are they?
Oh, they're on cable, are they?
Sense that Raw is restricted.
Yeah,
Raw's on USA, which is on cable, so, and that does better ratings than their Fox show. So I mean,
okay, yeah. So there's
like SmackDown for a bajillion years was on UPN and other random stations, so they were always the one channel that was always anybody could watch SmackDown, but you had to have cable to watch Raw, and then you had to pay-per-view to watch the big shows.
Interesting.
It's like an escalating price scheme.
It's funny, like with over here, it was on Sky for a billion years, and then it went to what's it on now, like TB Sports, and then it's randomly on like TV3, like Virgin Media on weekends. It's like, wow, this would be cool if I still watched the show. If I still had the interest to watch the show.
Is Raw on TV3 now?
Yeah. But Raw and SmackDown are on TV3 on like Saturday and Sunday. So it's just like, okay, that's weird. It's like being a kid again when it used to be on Sky One.
Is it Saturday and Sunday during the day, or they do that thing where if there's an even mildly looking dangerous move, they'll like cut to the crowd, or the camera will pause, and then you'll just see the after effect of? I
don't know. Like, as I said, I was going to watch it when I was on it from the Thunderdome, and I'm like, no, I've already sat through that once. I don't want to do it again. And I was just like, no, I don't want to put myself through that again. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. Like, I don't know, I didn't think it would happen, Martin, that I'd actually be like, kind of interested in AEW now, again, because like I did watch them for like consistently when it started until I went to Disneyland and London, and then just kind of fell off the wagon. But it just seems to be all AEW all the time now. Like, they're just going from strength to strength to strength, and these two signings obviously have just brought that up to level. Like, there is the other side of it as well, that like, do you feel that they're bringing in too many WWE guys. And look, Vince McMahon had a great burn as well, where he goes like, "Oh, they need help. Let's give them more talent," which is a really weird thing to say, but it's also a really strange Vince McMahon. Like, it is something Vince would say. To be fair, it's like, well, okay, this is wild. So it's just like, on the one hand, I'm like, it's cool because like they're going to be able to do all this stuff and they're going to have much more freedom and stuff like that as well. But also, it's like, right, Punk and Daniel Bryan are taking a spot away from somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say two things about that. I'd say one, I don't think there is such thing as a WWE guy. I mean, even when they're in WWE, they're not employees, they're independent contractors. And we've seen what Vince thinks of their contracts over the past year and a half. But in terms of the roster, I do think it's at a stage now where I wouldn't want to see any more people come in, at least not for a while. The extra hour on Friday nights will help, more spots for people. And we've heard news this week that they're planning a number of other shows. I don't know if these are going to be kind of YouTube level, like Dark and Elevation. They've got a pretty big undercard of guys that they need to build up to an all elite level before they have them on Wednesdays and Fridays. The only exception I'd make to that would be I would like to see them bring in maybe a few more like top level women wrestlers. Yeah. The only real weakness they have at the moment is that the women's division, it sort of comes in fits and bursts. It really, really looks like it's really making progress for a while, and then it goes back to, the last sort of quarter hour before the main event is kind of designated as the women's section of the show, which it's not good, and it doesn't help the wrestlers develop if they're only if there's only one match going on a week. And so I'd like to see more women come in.
It's one thing I wish they did if they used their Impact connection for, because Impact right now, like the women's division is unreal. They did a whole really cool angle with Mickie James getting involved with the title picture there, like as not in the title picture but as like an authority figure, and it was really cool this week. So I'm like, why don't you just bring in some Impact folks? That would be cool. But I don't know.
They already did that. It was a couple weeks ago.
No, the women.
Beginning of this summer.
No, women. Impact. Like, use the women's division. That's what I mean. Like, they just they're so focused on just having Kenny Omega show up. It's like, well, why don't you just bring in your women's division and have them wrestle with the AEW women, which would make.
I mean, there's some of that happening. I know on this week's Dynamite, Layla Hirsch won a shot at the NWA title.
That's cool.
And the NWA women's champion came out and was on the show and got in the ring and faced off with her. So there is a movement.
Yeah, it's definitely just like, I know every part of the show can't be amazing, and obviously, like, we've said before, like for anyone who listened to the show, the Slammiversary show that we did on the True Penny Network, we were talking about how great the women's division is, and that is just a standout for Impact. So like, it sucks that AEW haven't got there yet, but when you're the talking point on everybody's lips, AEW all the time, you're doing something right as it is. And it kills me to say it because I can just see Cody Rhodes' face right now, but still, man, it's amazing. Like, it's really, really cool. So look, moving on from there,
you're not worried, You're not getting these like flashbacks to how we were talking about TNA.
I am, but here's the thing. We'll talk about that, I suppose, right? Because I think on the Irish forum I said something similar around to this. It's like I'm not worried yet. Like, as I said, I've seen this before. Dave, you've seen
we were
this
very
before.
worried before.
We were very worried before.
We were very worried.
We were terrified because we have lived through it. We were working on Rest of You, and this was happening in Impact, and we're like, oh my god, is this happening again? Now here's the thing. I do think that the people running AEW have a bit more sense with what they're doing. Now, Punk and Daniel Bryan aren't past it by any stretch of the imagination. And they're still high value, right? Even if they were to if they're bringing Adam Cole, which would make sense to bring in Adam Cole, right? And even if they bring in Bray or something like that, they can still do it. Where I would start being concerned is if they bring in Ric Flair and he becomes like a mainstay, right? If they start bringing in Hogan, then I'm really worried. If they start,
if they brought in like Sting or something, I'd be terrified.
Sting's there. Oh, I see what you were doing, Dave. I see what you were doing. I don't know if you're watching the show or not, man. I don't know.
I am. Are you kidding me? Last night had a death match in it. Last week. You telling me I didn't watch?
Oh, we're
I got to see Nick Gage on TV. I was there when he died, almost.
I was there. But yeah, man. Like, you see, I'm not too worried yet. But like, if a couple of more alarm bells start ringing, I'll be like, whoa. But I think AEW have this figured out. You know, I will be interested to see what happens when Punk and Daniel Bryan land, what the first feuds are, how it weaves into each other, and having that extra show could actually level this out. But the problem starts becoming if they don't build any AEW talent, because I don't know, you could probably disagree with me, Martin. There's no one in AEW who I would class as being an AEW talent yet.
Really?
Well, like Omega,
Hangman Page, Darby Allin.
Actually, Hangman Page would be the only one, and Darby Allin.
MJF, I would put in there.
MJF, yeah.
Yeah, but would they be like?
I don't really think of MJF of any other promotion.
But would they? Well, he just ripping off.
I know everybody's a ripoff, Derek.
He's ripping off EC3. Like, that's it.
I understand that.
Yeah,
but that's not who he is.
No, but I mean, like with
like saying we can't like Ric Flair because he ripped off the Nature Boy.
That's fair. But no, what I mean is like there's no top talent yet. Hangman Page is getting there. I think when Hangman Page wins the belt, and he's like established as the top guy, I think that's when they've kind of arrived. But they haven't really got there yet for a lot of people. I think like there's that could just be me, but there's no one in AEW who I'd point to, in the first 6 or 7 people I'd say that would be AEW yet. I'd go obviously mention the Elite, pretty much all the Elite, Jericho, Kenny Omega, Moxley, all kind of stuff, but they're all, so do you just think it's too early yet to expect that, or do you think we're close to that, Martin?
I think they've taken the opposite philosophy of WWE. WWE is very much, they don't build stars, they build the brand. Right. Whereas AEW, I think they're really building up a number of, like, they're basing a lot of the shows around individuals. They've got what looks to be like long-term plans and long-term stories for, a lot of individual guys who they're really pushing them as stars. Like I say, Hangman and Darby would be the big ones. Obviously it's not a household name yet. Like WWE is still for many people just the byword for wrestling. That people say WWE when they mean
say WWF
wrestling in general, or WWF. So yeah, they are the hottest promotion in the world right now, but they're still 2 years old. So
that's true.
They have a long way to go with Everton. Like I said, the women's division needs a lot of work. As exciting and frantic as the shows are, they're still kind of plagued with a lot of what you would imagine are very simple, like production problems in terms of sound and camera cuts and angles and stuff like that. So there's obviously kinks they're still working out. But this past month has just been, they're on an unbelievable streak this past month.
Right, well, let's get into it there. Again, I don't want to be too harsh on them because they are only 2 years old, and the fact that they've managed to do what they've managed to do is actually incredible. Like, really, when you think about it, you're like, wow, this is amazing. But a lot of concern that me and Dave would have, it's because we've been there with Impact before, but this doesn't have a lot of the hallmarks of Impact. But I swear to God, if Hulk Hogan walks out, man, it's just that.
Dude, Eric Bischoff texted Tony Khan and they had a conversation. That's all you need to know about how I feel this is going.
Oh, yeah, well, that would be worse.
Well, you don't have to worry about Hulk, because Hulk has been, I think, publicly blacklisted. I think Tony Khan said publicly Hulk Hogan is blacklisted and is not welcome on the show.
Yeah, no, that's for the best. And there's no reason for him to ever show up on a wrestling show again. Although it's weird. So on the same week that Bryan and Punk signed, they're like, we're gonna have a Legends night on Raw, and then they bring out Hulk Hogan's like, This is not comparable. Nobody wants this. Who wants this?
I kind of want it. I get a
no,
kick out of it.
No.
What do you mean no?
No.
Tell me
no. There's no way you want that name.
I do want that to happen. You kidding me? There are certain people that just give you an adrenaline rush.
Who are they going to have on these legend shows in 10 or 20 years? Because they're not building up people now. Like I say, they're doing a great job.
Oh my gosh, Braden Walker every night.
Braden Walker, the Hall of Famer.
I have his 3-disc DVD set.
Oh man, I don't know, Braden. Yeah, I still pop Braden Walker. I'm not gonna lie.
See?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But okay, here let's before we get into we get derailed with WWE stuff. Let's talk about.
Wait, there is one good piece of news out of AEW that should be addressed.
Go on.
Cody Rhodes talked about retirement in 4 to 8 years.
Yeah, he said that before though. He said before that he's sort of short-term wrestling, that he's looking to get into.
4 to 8 years is not short-term wrestling. That's going to high school twice.
But he's put a sort of a time limit on his career before, and then obviously on Wednesday night it looked like he was about to retire until Malachi Black came in and kicked the head of him.
I have to say, one thing I've really enjoyed about AEW is Malachi Black. Like, obviously, I was devastated when he was fired from WWE. I'm like, you fired the best wrestler you have on the roster. Who isn't AJ Styles? What are you doing? So it seems like he's really getting there. We will talk about WWE's insanity after we review this part of the show. But yeah, okay, Fight for the Fallen 2021. So we have to start with obviously the main event, which was wild. It was insane. So it was the Painmaker Chris Jericho who defeated Nick Gage in a no rules match, which included using a pizza cutter and then a Domino's ad, which was bizarre. And something that if you said it sounds made up, but no, it actually happened. So look, I'm gonna let
glorious.
So I'm gonna let our deathmatch aficionado talk about this. So Dave, first time seeing Jericho in a deathmatch?
Yes.
Okay. So how does this rail in or rank in death matches? Because it was pretty like they used light tubes and everything, for Christ's sake. It was just ridiculous.
I read this in a tweet somewhere, and I don't remember who tweeted it, but they were spot on with it, that there's two schools of camp when it comes to how people feel about this match. Either on one hand, you have people who say it was an authentic Nick Gage death match. And then you have another group of people who are like, it was an authentic Nick Gage death match. So like, it's exactly what it should have been. It's exactly what, if you go and see Nick Gage in person, this is what this man does every weekend. But to actually see that and not have that stifled on television was fantastic. I made Jenna watch it with me. She did not appreciate that.
I didn't appreciate it.
No setup either. I tried to get her to watch the Matt Cardona match with me, and she fell asleep. She's like, all right, I've had enough blood. But I never have enough blood. And I loved it. I loved every second of it. The pizza thing ended up being absolutely hilarious, as was Nick Gage's response to all of this. If you don't follow Nick Gage on Twitter, you're messing up, man. He's got great tweets. But yeah, it was exactly what it should have been. I was really surprised that Jericho took some of the bumps he did, because he was known for a while.
Jericho made the match. But Jericho planned the match.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. And he did it with a very good knowledge of what Gage actually does. And the panes of glass, I mean, that Frankensteiner into glass was actually one of the most pretty things I've seen in wrestling in a while. It can be done. And it just, it surprised me. It also, if you had seen what Gage, that match he had with the former Zack Ryder the weekend before, like 4 or 5 days before this, that match was amazing. When it gets referenced in years to come, it's the one where Matt Cardona had beer bottles and water bottles and everything raining on the ring after he beat Nick Gage for the title. It was really, really good. My friend was there. So this was really cool as somebody who's seen him, grew up with him. You know, he went to jail because he robbed a bank that was in the town next to mine, legitimately. So, you know, it's just a very bizarre. When we saw Moxley at these shows, we thought maybe it might have crossed our mind that they'd end up on TV, but we never thought we'd see Gage on national television ever.
But see, here's the thing on that, right? I think this is the match that we were expecting Moxley to have by now, and he just didn't. You know, like that barbed wire cage match, that barbed wire exploding match, and the death matches he had or the lights out matches he had, there was no glass, and I'm like, why did it take so long for the glass to show up? But then again,
he doesn't like doing it. Moxley does not like wrestling death matches.
Sorry, Martin, what was that?
In the first lights out match he had with Omega, I think they had a bag of smashed glass and he had to crawl through it. Omega had him in like a sharpshooter in the glass.
Yeah, but it wasn't like when I think death match, I think light tubes and tables of glass. You know the way it's like. I'm not a huge fan of them because it's a bit kind of gross after a while. But when you think of them, like, if someone doesn't go through a table of glass, it isn't a death match. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
Light tubes are a necessity.
Light tubes are a necessity as well. Like there are, specific spots that you want for the pizza cutter. I could have done without. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's
but the pizza cutter is not something that's actually. Can we break? Sorry, Ireland. Let's break it down. I mean, Jericho's blading for the pizza cutter. That's not what's doing damage.
I know. It's still gross looking.
He even pre-bladed. How dare he? Who does that? But the pizza cutter, I mean, it's a great visual, but like that's not what gets me. Like when he breaks the light tube in half and then takes the end, like the jagged end, and like makes it look like he's stabbing into his skull. That's the spot. Because one slip and you done messing people up.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think Nick Gage knows wrestling is fake, and Booker T put out a great post about that. Pretty much, basically saying more people need to be like Nick Gage in this industry, and you do. Don't mess with him; he will kill you.
So what? He's the new Jack. Is that what you're saying?
He is. Yeah. I think that's where we're going with this.
Oh, wow.
Can you see Nick Gage versus Walter?
Oh, I have.
Oh, wow.
I have. Yeah.
And did either of them know it was supposed to be a fixed competition?
Hey, that's not what's important. What's important is MDK every day.
All day.
So here's the question. This Labors of Jericho thing. Martin, talk to me about this, because I wasn't like familiar with this, because I kind of watched this cold. What's going on with the storyline for anyone who wants to get into AEW? Because I'm excuse the pun, all in on this. I think this is super fun.
So it's also almost kind of a rerun of the MJF Cody story, right, where MJF put Cody through a sort of a series of trials before he'd actually let him get his hands on him. And I think that's what the story is here, is basically.
But why? What does MJF have over Jericho? He just won't.
How does he have the power of?
That's what I'm confused by it. I'm like, you agreed to this? That's a bad deal.
If you've been following the show from last year, basically they kind of built up MJF and Jericho as like great friends.
Yeah.
And it looked for a while as if the story was going to be that MJF was going to take over the inner circle, but there was the sudden but inevitable betrayal.
I remember that. I do remember that. Yeah.
So Jericho's taken that personally, as you would. But the only way MJF will agree to a one-on-one match with him is for him to go through these labors, and Jericho's going along with it because, like I say, it's a blood feud. He wants to get his hands on MJF.
That match better be something else, because
it'll have to be, because the big problem with the Cody one was the Cody MJF feud was built amazingly. It was built to perfection. They had this. I think it's one of the best wrestling segments ever, in all of wrestling, when they had MJF whipping Cody. It was unbelievable, and they built it so perfectly. And then the match was that
was the NWA championship?
Was it? Was there an NWA?
I don't know. That's the one I remember. I mean, Cody does the same spots over and over again, but I feel like I remember that spot.
But the point was that they built this.
I'm just curious. I feel like I watched this. Like, he takes his belt off and whips people. Is that not a thing? It's just not happening?
No. This was different. This was one of the trials that MJF had for Cody. Was Cody had to stand in the ring, and MJF was going to whip him 10 times.
Oh, yeah. As you do.
Okay.
But basically,
thank you. I was just trying to get clarification, man. Dara, cut me some slack, Dara.
But the point was that they made this amazing build. And then the actual match was just like a very good wrestling. Like they were more doing holds and the culmination of a blood feud. It's
like the Triple H Orton WrestleMania match, where the build up was great, and then they go in and trade holds. Like when this feud does come to an end, like, I think that's the time for Jericho to get creative and go, right, here's a new match type, because like they have to do something, really, really good. I think this is the one thing that AEW does kind of falter a little bit when their big feuds reach a crescendo. It kind of can flop, and the barbed wire cage matches, or not the barbed wire cage match, it'll get there eventually. Exploding barbed wire match. It's like, hopefully that doesn't happen again, because I'm invested now, so I'll be upset if it's not good. I'll be upset.
I mean, sometimes like the build can be too good. They can build something to a point where you just can't pay it off. Like there's, you know.
But on the show as well, there was a really good 10-man tag team elimination match, and it's weird for me to say it because usually I'm not a fan of these in WWE because they're so poor. But I think everyone really shined here quite well, and the Dark Order seemed to be like doing stuff. I know they're a bit of a comedy act, but they're still kind of cool.
Oh yeah, it was the 10-man was great. The finish was unbelievable. Like this thing with Hangman has been, it's been pointed out like it's been coming for so long. I think everyone was expecting Hangman victory, real good, feel good moment of him getting a shot at the title, of the Dark Order getting a shot at the tag titles. And but I was quite happy with it because I think I bloody love this Hangman story where he's just doubting himself and he doesn't feel up to the task. And I always thought he needed just one more knockback, one more obstacle to overcome, and then that would be it at its absolute fever pitch. And I genuinely might cry when he wins the title.
And I think that'll be the making of him. Honestly, I think that's what they need to do, and that's when you'll get your first real star, like proper megastar. It's kind of like with AJ Styles, to be honest with you, Dave. His journey through TNA, that's what it feels like. I think Hangman's like the AJ Styles of AEW. That's what it feels like, and it's been like that since even when I started watching it.
He's been one of those guys from the beginning.
Yeah,
that definitely stands out. And I'm glad you mentioned Darby Allin as well, because he's the other guy that I think of. Because I just, like every fan, I just associate with his last name with All In, because that's such an iconic match and night for him. So I don't know.
Well, look, for anyone keeping score at home, the Elite defeated Hangman Page and the Dark Order in 25-23 minutes. Well, it was a long match, a very good match though. I'd say it's worth definitely watching. The next match was FTR, and they defeated Santana and Ortiz. I don't know, like FTR don't really do anything for me, but I do like Santana and Ortiz. I think they're like super cool. Like I know I get LAX vibes off them, like 100%. But they are cool. What do you guys think of that match?
Yeah, good match. Probably didn't live up to the to what it could have been or what people's expectations of it were. Like I'm the opposite with FTR. With FTR, I think they're amazing.
Really?
But I know that there was a particularly bad injury for one of them during the match. They got their arm very deeply cut on the hook on the edge of the ring. I think that might explain why that match sort of kind of petered out.
That'd make a lot of sense. We had an interesting IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship match following Atlanta Archer defeated King Haku. Kulo, was that how you say it? Hey Kulo with King Haku. I thought this was cool. Like I really like when AEW do this, when they bring in outside talent or outside championships. It's proper WCW, but I like it. It's good, and it's nice that it got featured like it was here. This was like I didn't think I'd like Lance Archer as a champion or in general, but he's been great.
Oh yeah, I love Lance Archer. The previous match with John Moxley was incredible.
It was.
This one didn't obviously live up to anything near that, but I thought it was good. It's always good to see the New Japan guys come in. It's great to see that working relationship. Archer took a couple of pretty damaging losses earlier in the year, so it's really nice to see him sort of back on a winning streak, because I'm a big fan of Lance Archer. And then, come on, any day you see Haku, that's a good day.
Yeah, no, I was just like, I did pop big for Haku. And this is what we kind of said earlier on in the show. When AEW used their legends, they really used their legends like well. And this is another example of it. Speaking of legends, Christian Cage was next, and I love Christian Cage. Christian Cage and Jungle Express defeated Hardy Family Office and Private Party. This was kind of a nothing match, but for me, I think this was furthering their feud further down the line. But
yeah, I think they're setting up a Christian Cage heel turn. I think he's going to turn on Jungle Boy.
Absolutely,
and that's a match I want to see. I didn't watch a lot of TNA, so I wasn't fully aware of how good Christian's singles run in TNA.
Don't worry, you're about to see it all over again.
And you know what? I'm okay with that because Christian's run in TNA
you know what I mean.
Fantastic. I do know what you mean.
I just want that on the record.
I do know what you mean.
Just want this on the record.
But what I'm saying is, I'm sad Tomko won't be here because he robbed the Burger King and then decided to shoot up in the Burger King he robbed instead of going home, which would have been the logical sense. So, I'm sad that Tomko won't be there, but I don't think he's getting out of jail anytime soon. But yeah,
see, that's what Gage did, right? He didn't actually take a gun in with him when he robbed a bank, so he's out of jail now.
Also, leaving. No, I'd say leaving the place you've robbed and not going into the bathroom to shoot up is probably a good idea as well, But that's what Tomko did, so that's why he's not getting out of jail. Yeah.
Oh, Tomko.
But anyway, that's the only difference with this, Martin. You won't have Tomko there as his heavy, but I'm pretty sure when Christian goes heel, his work is even better than it is that we've seen so far. So, I think Christian has been like a really good grab for AEW in ways that people might necessarily not know because they weren't exposed to Impact as much. But yeah, I've loved his run, and I'm really excited.
That's exactly how I felt whenever he came out as the sort of surprise. I was very
Yeah.
But I've been really pleasantly surprised by Christian's run so far. He just brings. I think one of the things I love about AEW is that it's a real kind of a buffet style of a show. Yeah. You get several different sort of types of wrestling in a match, and I think he brings in a real good, grounded, a bit like Cody, kind of old school WCW kind of style.
He does, and it's one thing that you never got to see in WWE ever really. But you did briefly with Orton, but in Impact it was, he was one of the highlights of the show, which is, I'm glad we get to see again. And what would be cool is if he gets to go, like I know he had to go back there for like the Hall of Fame or something one time, but if he goes back into Impact and starts doing a kind of cross motion there, I think that would be pretty neat. But again, I think that's a heel thing that we'll see where he starts cutting promos about how much he hated Impact or something like that. I think that would be fun. Thunder Rosa defeated Julia Hart in a singles match, 4 minutes. Yeah, this was not good, but it's what it is.
Not much of a match. I think it was just for Thunder Rosa to get the I think was this her first match after she officially signed with the company.
Yeah, because she had a great performance in Impact, and they're like, we better get her, and they did. So this is her first match actually signed. Yeah,
so I'd say that's what that was. That was to get her out, to get her the pop, and also probably just keeping her alive in the rankings for, whenever she takes on Britt Baker.
Makes sense. All right, guys, in the time we have left, let's get on to, again, sorry, Martin, what's the next big show for AEW? What's the big one we're all building towards?
So obviously this week's Dynamite was pretty big.
Yeah.
Next week they're back out on the road, assuming, although WWE and AEW have both already begun to put in contingency plans in case these variants of COVID force them back to Daly's Place and to the Thunderdome. But ideally what will happen is next week there'll be Dynamite, then on Friday you'll have the big Rampage.
First Dance, isn't it? That's the August the 20th. Yeah, we're probably gonna have to cover that one. I think that's the next big AEW show for this. And as I said, this is the rewind, so obviously we cover all the shows. But when big shows like this, we have to. So that's definitely one to keep an eye on, because that's the one that's in Chicago. That's at the United Center, isn't it?
That's the one where they were very heavily implying that that's where Punk is going to have his debut, which is good because his debut then is ahead of the pay-per-view, which would indicate he might actually be wrestling on the pay-per-view rather than just sort of showing up. He might actually have a match.
Well, that's pretty cool. That would be much more satisfying than coming out, because he means he can cut his promo on Rampage and then be challenged and have the match. And that's a good way to book it. It takes care of itself. But we're 2 weeks away from that, and I think it's definitely something that we're going to have to talk about on the show, because how can you not, right? How can you not?
Especially with me.
Absolutely. Well, look, there was nothing pulling me into AEW, but they just keep doing the right things. And with Malachi Black showing up, and then everybody else. It's a show to watch. You know, it really is. Quickly, so some rumors, right? Adam Cole looks like he could be going to, well, out of the WWE. He refuses to sign a contract. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Why did Tony Khan say no? What's the point of that?
Did he say no?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was asked about whether or not he's dead. I think he said no because there'd be a legal issue around that, because you can't sort of poach people who are currently under contract somewhere else.
That's fair, yeah. But his contract. But here's the thing: his contract is
Smart.
up. His contract is up. Yeah.
So
an extension.
He's got an extended to SummerSlam. I think.
SummerSlam. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a legal thing around that. Right. The other thing is maybe he just said no because he's like, look, we've got Punk, we've got Bryan. Everray's actually showed up on AEW Dynamite this week. Maybe he just said, look, we've got our roster for now.
Right. Okay. Well, you know, I don't know. I don't want to see Cole leave WWE, but he's not going up to the main roster, I don't think. And NXT is probably just sick of it. So it's like, it's a shame that WWE don't realize who they have in Adam Cole. Well, no, Triple H and Shawn Michaels definitely do. But
they know what they have there, yeah.
Yeah, they do, and they obviously, like, he's, you know, they're his childhood heroes, and, you know, they love him. But it's just like, you know, how long are you going to stay in NXT? Like, even Balor's back up in the main roster now, you know? Just like,
he's in a very awkward position because, like you say, he's done NXT to death.
Yeah.
But I think even he knows if he goes to the main roster, he'll be chasing the 24/7 title and within a month.
Imagine that would be actually heartbreaking. No, it wouldn't. No, stop.
You don't want to see him versus R-Truth?
No,
I do.
No, I don't. No, it'd be heartbreaking. Stop. Come on.
Wait. What happened to the days of us doing shows about how great the 24 title was for R-Truth and how AEW is terrible because Cody Rhodes exists?
But it's not.
And now, what has happened? What has happened to us? Welcome to show 70, everybody. The day the script got flipped.
But it's not. It's not great.
Did we lose a sponsorship I'm not aware of?
No, listen. It's great for R-Truth, for Truth. It's not great for Adam Cole. I would not want to see Adam Cole be there, right?
But Cole's in an awkward position because, like, so what does he do? Does he sign back on for NXT? Does he demand more money? But can you demand more money at a time when they're cutting big contracts left, right, and center?
Yeah.
And like,
yeah, that's when you got to do it.
Whatever pull you think you have, like, if Vince McMahon has no issue cutting the likes of Bray Wyatt, I mean, it's very clear he has no time for NXT at all. I don't see anyone from NXT holding him up for more cash. So, God, I think if he'd left a year ago, he'd be on fire.
Yeah.
But, I think he's in a very difficult position at the moment.
Well, look, we'll have to keep an eye on it, obviously, as it progresses. But let's finish up today's show with, you know, the most shocking news, but also not shocking news that happened outside of Punk and Daniel Bryan. Bray Wyatt was released out of nowhere. Like, last Saturday, I was coming home from Dublin and I opened up my phone and I thought someone had, like, sent out a spearfishing message to be like, Bray Wyatt has been released. Like, yeah, right, okay, I'm not clicking that link. And then it just started popping up. I'm like, oh, well, Bray Wyatt has been released. Now, it's not surprising, but it also really, really is surprising. So, obviously, I did a video on it. You guys can check it out on the channel. So I'm going to hold my thoughts. But
it's a good video.
Thank you. Dave, what do you think about this, man? Like, you know, last time we saw Bray Wyatt was at WrestleMania and the night afterwards, and then he just disappeared. What are your thoughts on this? Because I was just taken away completely.
The last time we talked about Bray Wyatt on this show, we talked about how shocked we were that he wasn't one of the people released back in April. So I'm just playing that in my mind. I'm like, well, how surprised can I be when we talked about it on the show that he basically seems like he's going to get released soon because this character is running out, and no matter how much work they put into creating characters for him, once it gets to actually being in the ring as a physical performer, he's all right.
I just didn't like, even though we talked about it, that's what I mean. Like, I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised. It was like,
it's nice to be wrong, right? It's nice. It's nice when we say things are going to happen, like WWE is going to be sold by SummerSlam, and that didn't happen. That's nice. Well, that's what we were hoping for.
We don't know.
We're still holding out.
We're still waiting. Here's the thing. This whole thing, this whole like talent.
But this is how this all started, because Bray Wyatt was part of that initial conversation. But he'd be gone.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make much sense to me financially. Like, surely whatever his contract was, he was making however many times more that for the company in bloody t-shirt sales alone.
Like, and merch.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. I went over and got a Bray Wyatt action figure there, and it's over there. Solely because
that's hard to dispute the anecdote. But all I know what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that he just. Yeah, he sells stuff, but look how much production value money it takes for him to get over.
Yeah, he is pretty terrible in the ring, to be fair.
I don't think it would take half that money to get him over if they would occasionally have him bloody win one of these feuds.
Like, the more he wrestles, the worse. I don't even remember if he wins or loses.
I don't even think it's that he's that bad in the ring. It's that every time he has one of these feuds, like they set him on fire and then he came back from the dead and then he lost to an RKO.
That stuff I liked.
No. David is trolling.
I did like that. No, I did. I liked I liked when he was set on fire. That was fun. When's the last time somebody died in wrestling?
To be fair, I liked when he was set on fire too. But he should have won. But he should have won against Randy Orton. At WrestleMania.
Dude, you do know that Vince McMahon blew up in a limo and then he was on TV the next week, right?
But we know the separate. That was because
I don't see circumstances.
Dave just sees what's on the TV show.
I just see broadcasts.
You're the opposite of Bishop. Your context is nothing.
It means nothing to me.
I just know what's on the show. I just know what's presented to me.
Yeah, I just that's what it is. Whatever's on the show is what's real.
Okay, here's the question though, guys. Right. So, look, I liked Bray Wyatt. I love the Fiend character. I thought it was amazing, right? Then they kind of ruined it, and it was like, okay, he's never getting over. And here's a serious question, right?
Alexa Bliss.
Well, Alexa Bliss.
I don't know what the question is, but that's the answer.
No.
Getting her back to a non-Bray Wyatt Alexa Bliss, like having her back to I'm excited.
Does Bray Wyatt, or what's it, the Cult of Wyndham, which is what he's testing on his social media? Oh. Does that have any value? Like, does the man Bray Wyatt at Wyndham Rotunda have any value anywhere? Because look, he's a great mind and he gets stuff over, and a lot of productions. But once it goes in the ring, it all falls apart. And obviously, Dave's shaking his head. So I know Dave's answer. I'm going to go to you, Martin, first.
I mean, it's AEW, right? It's the wrestling company. Well, that's not the place to go if you don't know how to wrestle.
Exactly. But Impact could be. Martin, go for it.
Know how to is relative, people. You know what I mean?
I honestly think the best option for him is reinvent himself. He's like known as a really creative guy. Reinvent himself and take the Matt Cardona approach. Go for a sort of long, like critically acclaimed run on the Indies. Build your name back up, because I was the same as yourself. When The Fiend first came out, I loved the character, and week by week it was just beaten out of me. Yeah. So I think he needs to seriously rehabilitate himself. I don't think AEW is the place for him. Again, New Japan is another work rate company. You're not gonna get over there. Like, I heard someone talking about him earlier in the week saying that, he could be New Japan's Vader. And as much as I'm sure he's a great guy, he's not Vader.
No. Like, and that's why I think, like, the Indies maybe, but he needs some level of production. I think Impact will be a good grab for him, because they have some mic. They have some money. He can do mic work, and he can kind of get over there without really going in the ring. Because the minute he goes in that ring, man, it just all falls apart. And if he went to AEW, which would be the wrestling company, no way. And if he went to New Japan, no way. It's just it sucks. WWE was the best place for him, but he was never able to make a stick because they wouldn't put him over. It's weird. It's such a weird thing to have, where it's like he sells so much merch, it's such a cool character, and it's still couldn't get you over. That's when he gave it to Alexa Bliss, which is really shitty, which is really terrible thing to do, but it's what they did. Dave.
It's buried enough back in the video. I won't get penalized for that. It's I already said it. when it comes to Alexa Bliss, it makes me very excited because I want to see Alexa dressed like Alexa again. And as far as Bray Wyatt goes, good. More screen time for Ricochet. Let's do it.
Do you think that's the way it's going to work out?
That's where I'm looking at.
I don't think that's the way it's going to work out. But here's the thing, right? This kind of I think this lends more credibility to, like, a lot of people are saying it, to a sale. They're scaling this product way down so they could just have a very lean product to just sell off. And honestly, that's what it's really starting to look like. Or else Vince has just lost his mind. He's just gone absolutely nuts. And he's just like, fire everybody.
Because they could have made a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money a couple months ago because people were risking on whether or not live fans would come back. Now you're actually seeing what sales are going to be.
Yeah.
Well, if there's not a huge jump in terms of trajectory, then they're in trouble because they could have sold it on a promise and now they're kind of renting it on a whim.
Yeah.
Now you got to remember as well what WWE was like prior to the creation of AEW. I mean, they had already scaled loads of stuff back. They'd stopped doing the pyro, in terms of the shows. That really scaled back sets right back. And when AEW came out, they panicked and they brought in all this other stuff to really beef the shows back up. And maybe they've accepted that AEW has this fan base now. That's they're a fact, and maybe they're scaling back down to whatever the plan was pre the launch of AEW.
As I said, the WWE product is basically unwatchable at the best of times, and getting rid of, again, The Fiend, terrible in the ring, honestly terrible in the ring, for the most part. But it's still sad to see him go because it's like, okay, the entertainment in WWE was in Bray Wyatt. Like, Dave and myself loved the Firefighter Funhouse match. It was the most fun thing ever,
It was,
it's like WWE could do stuff like that, but now they won't. So
John Cena can make anybody have the best match in the world.
But this is the thing, and there was very little wrestling in that match, and I still really enjoyed it. But I don't know, I'm sad to see this happen. But I'd say, grab some Bray Wyatt merch as you can, because that's going to go way up in value, because he's not coming back. There's no way he's coming back. They won't rehire him because this was obviously made with, look, we can't get you over. So it is what it is. Anyway, folks, we'll be back next week. We're going to go back to WCW. I think it's uncensored. That's the one for next week. And then,
good. We're uncensored next week. So Derek can't hide at the end of the show. You can just go all show long.
So that's the one we're looking at. And then we have some more AEW stuff next week. So guys, Dave, first, where can the people reach you? #Save Dave.
Oh, yeah, my phone number is not for you. But you can find me on Twitter or Instagram at @TheDaveStevens, #SaveDave. And it's always a pleasure to be on the only show hosted by people that don't hate wrestling.
Absolutely. Martin.
Yes. Hello.
Where can people reach you, or is there anything you unplug?
No, I'm just living my life.
That's fair. Guys, if you like the show, please do like and subscribe. That really helps the channel. Let people know about the show. That also helps us a great deal as well. And if you want to support us, you can go over to Nerd to Know Media or thewrestlingrewind.com and find all the social stuff there. Also, thank you to James Penny, and we'll be back next week here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. The Wrestling Rewind, the only show hosted by people who don't hate wrestling.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for this edition of the Wrestling Rewind here on Phoenix 92.5 FM. If you want the full show, there's two ways you're going to be able to get it. Join us live, 11:30 p.m., 6:30 p.m. Eastern, over on the Wrestling Rewind YouTube channel. TheWrestlingRewind.com will get you there, and you can join the chat and join in on the fun. Also, if you want, you can check us out on the podcast. The podcast can be got from our channel Nerd to Know Media. You can subscribe there, or you can go to the Two Penny channel or the Two Penny Show channel, and you'll be able to get it there for free, no cost to you, and there's a whole bunch of content there as well. But thank you for checking us out here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, the Wrestling Rewind. See you next time.
You have nothing else to do on a Saturday? Do you like nerd things? Now check out Nerd to Know Basis here on Phoenix 92.5 FM, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. And then head over to nerdtoknowmedia.com for all of our shows as part of the Nerd to Know Media Radio Network. Alright, so you're wondering, how do I listen to you guys live? How do I check it out? Well, good news, we stream every Wednesday, 9 p.m. over on Twitch. Nerddux, NERDDUX, or Nerd to Know Media on YouTube or Twitch. That's how you're going to be able to catch us. Hope to see you in the live chat.
Thank you for listening to a Nerd to Know Media production.